just have to remember.
Back off!
If you don't wake up, you're gonna die.
Gerald's Game is a 2017 American psychological horror thriller film, directed and edited by Mike Flanagan, and screenplay written by Flanagan with Jeff Howard. It is based on Stephen King's 1992 novel, long thought to be unfilmable. The film stars Carla Gugino and Bruce Greenwood as a married couple who arrive at an isolated house for a holiday. When the husband dies of a sudden heart attack, his wife, left handcuffed to the bed without the key and with little hope of rescue, must find a way to survive, all while battling her inner demons.
Gerald?
What? What's happening? Gerald!
Paramount Pictures presents Stephen King's all-time best-selling tale of horror.
That Sematary, sometimes referred to as Stephen King's Pet Sematary, is a 1989 American supernatural horror film and the first adaptation of Stephen King's 1983 novel. Directed by Mary Lambert and written by King, the story follows after tragedy strikes. A grieving father discovers an ancient burial ground behind his home, with the power to raise the dead. Christine, titled on screen as John Carpenter's Christine, is a 1983 American supernatural horror film, directed by John Carpenter. Written by Bill Phillips and based on Stephen King's 1983 novel, the movie follows the changes in the lives of Arnie Cunningham, his friends, his family, and his teenage enemies after Arnie buys a classic red and white 1958 Plymouth Fury named Christine, license number CQB 241, a car that seems to have a jealous, possessive personality and a mind of its own, which has a bad influence on Arnie. 1408 is a 2007 American psychological horror film based on Stephen King's 1999 short story. It is directed by Mikkel Hafstrom and stars John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson. The film follows Mike Enslin, an author who investigates allegedly haunted houses and rents the titular room 1408 at a New York City hotel. Although skeptical of the paranormal, he is soon trapped in the room where he experiences bizarre events.
So you're saying there's no such thing as ghosts?
I'm saying I've never seen one. Nothing would make me happier than to experience a paranormal event.
Creepshow will grab you, grow on you, and give you the creeps.
Creepshow is a 1982 American horror comedy anthology film, directed by George A. Romero and written by Stephen King, making this film his screenwriting debut. This film consists of 5 short stories: Father's Day, The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, based on the King short story Weeds, Something to Tide You Over, The Crate and They're Creeping Up on You. 2 of these stories were adapted from King's short stories, with the film bookended by prologue and epilogue scenes featuring a young boy named Billy, played by King's son, Joe, who is punished by his abusive father for reading horror comics.
This is going to be extremely painful, Mr. Verrill.
The Mist, also known as Stephen King's The Mist, is a 2007 American science fiction horror film based on the 1980 novella The Mist by Stephen King. The film was written and directed by Frank Darabont. The story follows a freak storm unleashes a species of bloodthirsty creatures on a small town, where a small band of citizens hole up in a supermarket and fight for their lives. It, titled on screen as It, Chapter 1, is a 2017 American coming-of-age supernatural horror film based on Stephen King's 1986 novel. It is the first film in the It film series, as well as being the second adaptation following Tommy Lee Wallace's 1990 miniseries. Directed by Andy Muschietti, the story follows, in the summer of 1989, a group of bullied kids band together to destroy a shape-shifting monster, which disguises itself as a clown and preys on the children of Derry, their small Maine town.
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too.
Yes, you run, dear. And then I will find you, and you will scream for years.
Dr. Sleep is a 2019 American supernatural horror film written and directed by Mike Flanagan. It is based on the 2013 novel by Stephen King, which is a sequel to King's 1977 novel The Shining. The film, which also serves as a sequel to the 1980 film adaptation of The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, is set several decades after the events of the original and combines elements of the 1977 novel as well. Ewan McGregor plays the lead role as Danny Torrance, a man with psychic abilities who struggles with childhood trauma. In the film, Dan Torrance, now an adult, must protect a young girl with similar powers from a cult known as the True Knot, whose members prey on children who possess the Shining to extend their own lives.
Hi. You can hear me.
You're magic. Like me.
I don't know about magic. I always called it The Shining.
And introducing John Travolta in his first motion picture role.
Carrie is a 1976 American supernatural horror film directed by Brian De Palma from a screenplay written by Lawrence D. Cohen, adapted from Stephen King's 1974 novel. The story follows Carrie White, a shy, friendless teenage girl who is sheltered by her domineering, religious mother, unleashes her telekinetic powers after being humiliated by her classmates at her senior prom. The film has significantly influenced popular culture, with several publications regarding it as one of the greatest horror films ever made.
The girl with the strange power.
If I concentrate hard enough, I can move things.
The Shining is a 1980 psychological horror film, produced and directed by Stanley Kubrick and co-written with novelist Diane Johnson. The film is based on Stephen King's 1977 novel and stars Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, Scatman Crothers, and Danny Lloyd. The film's central character is Jack Torrance, an aspiring writer and recovering alcoholic who accepts a position as the off-season caretaker of the isolated historic Overlook Hotel in the Colorado Rockies, with his wife, Wendy Torrance, and young son, Danny Torrance. Danny is gifted with the Shining psychic abilities that enable him to see into the hotel's horrific past. After a winter storm leaves the Torrances snowbound, Jack's sanity deteriorates due to the influence of the supernatural forces that inhabit the hotel.
I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains.
Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.